In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war and faith. The 41st millennium is an age of unending darkness, where humanity clings to existence in a galaxy filled with horrors beyond imagination. In this bleak future, hope comes in a singular form: absolute, unwavering faith in the God Emperor of mankind. The Ecclesiarchy, also known as the Adeptus Ministorum, stands as the most powerful religious institution in human history, commanding the devotion of countless trillions across 1,000,000 worlds. This mighty organization represents more than mere religious authority. It is the spiritual backbone of the Imperium of man, the keeper of humanity's soul in an age where such concepts carry literal life or death importance. Understanding the Ecclesiarchy means understanding the very heart of imperial society, where faith serves not only as comfort, but as an actual weapon against the forces of chaos that seek to consume all of creation. The God Emperor, deity or man? The theological debate. At the center of all imperial faith lies a fundamental question that has sparked theological debates for over 10,000 years. Is the Emperor of mankind truly a god? This question is not merely academic, it shapes the very foundation of imperial society and determines the fate of human souls across the galaxy. The Emperor himself, during the Great Crusade, vehemently denied his divinity. He promoted the imperial truth, a secular doctrine that rejected all supernatural beliefs and proclaimed that only science and reason could guide humanity to its destined greatness. Yet the very power he wielded commanding the loyalty of superhuman primarchs, lighting the Astronomican beacon that guides ships through the warp, and performing feats that defied mortal comprehension seemed to contradict his own words. When Lorgar, primarch of the Word-Bearers Legion, knelt before the Emperor and proclaimed him divine, he was harshly rebuked. The Emperor's punishment was swift and devastating. The burning of Monarchia, a perfect city that Lorgar had built as a monument to the Emperor's glory. This act of destruction would have profound consequences, setting in motion the events that would lead to the Horus Heresy. The power of belief. In the Warhammer 40K universe, belief itself is power. The warp, that parallel dimension through which faster-than-light travel is possible, responds to the collective psychic emanations of living beings. Strong emotions and beliefs can literally reshape reality within the warp. The Chaos Gods themselves are manifestations of such psychic energy, born from the darkest aspects of sentient thought and emotion. Given this metaphysical reality, the question of the Emperor's divinity becomes even more complex. When trillions of humans across the galaxy believe in the Emperor's godhood with absolute conviction, does their faith make it true? The evidence suggests it does. Saints manifest miraculous powers, appearing on battlefields wreathed in golden light, immune to weapons that would destroy tanks. The Emperor's protection shields faithful servants from the predations of demons. These are not mere superstitions. They are observable, measurable phenomena. The Primarch's perspective. The surviving loyal Primarchs hold varying views on their Gene-Father's divinity. Robert Guilliman, returned to active duty in the current era, struggles with this question more than most. Having spoken with the Emperor directly during the Great Crusade, he knows the man behind the myth. Yet he cannot deny the miraculous nature of the Emperor's continued existence, nor the very real power of imperial faith. In the Dark Imperium series, Guilliman's debates with Ecclesiarchy officials reveal the tension between those who knew the Emperor as a man and those who worship him as a god. The Primarch's arguments that the Emperor was a powerful psyker, not a deity, that he actively opposed religious worship, that miracles can be explained through warp phenomena fall on deaf ears among the truly faithful. Origins of the Imperial Cult. The seeds of faith. The Imperial Cult did not spring forth fully formed. Its origins can be traced to several key sources, each contributing to the complex theological framework that would eventually dominate human space. The first and most significant contributor was Lorgar, the Primarch of the Word-Bearers. Despite the emperor's rejection of his worship, Lorgar never abandoned his belief in divine power. After his fall to chaos, he authored the Lectitio Divinitatus, the Book of Divine Words, a theological text that would become the foundation of imperial faith. Ironically, the very primarch who fell to chaos provided the religious framework that would help humanity resist chaos for millennia to come. The first martyrs. The transformation from imperial truth to imperial creed was catalyzed by the Horus heresy itself. As the galaxy burned and half the emperor's sons turned traitor, many began to see the conflict in religious terms, a cosmic battle between good and evil, between the light of the emperor and the darkness of chaos. The first imperial saints emerged during this period of crisis. These individuals, blessed with miraculous powers, appeared at crucial moments to turn the tide of battle. Euphrates Keeler, a former remembrancer, became one of the first recognized saints, manifesting golden light that could banish demons and heal the wounded. Such miracles provided undeniable proof to many of the emperor's divine nature. The Edict of Tolerance. In the aftermath of the heresy, with the emperor entombed upon the golden throne, the Imperium faced a crisis of faith. The secular imperial truth had failed to prevent the greatest catastrophe in human history. Into this spiritual vacuum stepped the imperial cult, offering hope, purpose, and protection against the very real threats of chaos. Approximately 3,000 years after the emperor's internment, the cult was officially recognized as the state religion of the Imperium. This marked a fundamental shift in imperial policy from the atheistic materialism of the Great Crusade to the theocratic faith that would define human civilization for the next 7 millennia. The structure of the Ecclesiarchy. Hierarchical organization. The Ecclesiarchy operates as a vast hierarchical organization that mirrors the structure of historical religious institutions. At its apex sits the Ecclesiarch, the supreme religious authority of the Imperium, who holds a seat among the High Lords of Terror and wields influence second only to the Emperor himself. Below the Ecclesiarch are cardinal world centaur planets dedicated to worship and religious administration. These worlds serve as regional centers of faith, each governing multiple sectors of space. Cardinals, the highest-ranking clerics below the Ecclesiarch, rule these worlds with absolute authority, commanding vast resources and wielding influence over billions of souls. The hierarchy extends downward through archconfessors, confessors, preachers, and missionaries, each rank carrying specific responsibilities and authorities. This structure ensures that the Ecclesiarchy's influence reaches into every corner of human space, from the noble spires of hive cities to the humblest agricultural settlements on frontier worlds. The Schola progenium. One of the Ecclesiarchy's most important institutions is the Schola progenium, schools that train the orphans of fallen imperial servants. These institutions produce many of the Imperium's most fanatical and capable servants, including commissars, arbites, and members of the Ecclesiarchy itself. The education provided by the Schola progenium is harsh and unforgiving. Students who survive the rigorous training emerge as unquestioning servants of the Emperor, their faith absolute and their loyalty beyond doubt. Many do not survive. Those who fail academically or physically may be turned into servitors, their brains wiped and bodies converted into mindless cyborgs. This system ensures a constant supply of faithful servants while reinforcing the Ecclesiarchy's control over imperial society. The knowledge that their children might be taken and trained in these institutions serves as both an honor and a threat to imperial citizens. Doctrines and beliefs. Core tenets. The Imperial Creed rests upon 3 fundamental pillars that form the basis of all imperial faith. The Emperor is the one true God of mankind. This central tenet establishes the Emperor's divine nature and ultimate authority over all human life. There are no other gods. This monotheistic principle explicitly rejects all other forms of worship, including the veneration of chaos powers, xenos deities, or any other supernatural entities. To live worthily in the Emperor's sight, this moral imperative requires the faithful to conduct themselves in a manner befitting servants of the God Emperor. These core beliefs are deliberately broad, allowing for significant local variation in interpretation and practice while maintaining doctrinal unity across the Imperium. Flexibility and adaptation. One of the Imperial Creed's greatest strengths is its adaptability. Missionary work across 1,000,000 worlds has necessitated a pragmatic approach to local customs and beliefs. Rather than completely destroying existing cultural practices, the Ecclesiarchy often incorporates them into imperial worship, recontextualizing local traditions within the framework of emperor worship. For example, a world that traditionally worships storm spirits might be taught that these spirits are manifestations of the emperor's power over nature. A culture that venerates their ancestors might learn that the emperor watches over the souls of the faithful dead. This syncretistic approach has allowed the Imperial Creed to take root in diverse human cultures while maintaining its essential character. However, this flexibility has limits. Practices that involve human sacrifice to entities other than the emperor, worship of obvious chaos powers, or veneration of Xenos are met with swift and brutal suppression. The line between acceptable adaptation and dangerous heresy is often subjective, leading to tragic misunderstandings and unnecessary violence. The imperial calendar and observances. Imperial faith structures the daily lives of citizens through a complex calendar of observances, feast days, and periods of penance. These range from daily prayer requirements to annual pilgrimages that may span generations. The most significant celebrations include the Emperor's Ascension Day, commemorating the Emperor's internment upon the Golden Throne. The Feast of Malediction, a day of mourning for those lost to heresy and corruption. Unity Day, celebrating the Great Crusade and humanity's expansion into the galaxy. The Vigil of Contemplation, a period of fasting and meditation on humanity's sins. These observances serve multiple purposes. They provide structure and meaning to otherwise harsh lives, reinforce imperial values and history, and demonstrate public devotion to the regime. The Ministry of Holy Terror. Administrative structure. The Adeptus Ministorum operates as both a religious institution and a government department, wielding temporal as well as spiritual authority. This dual nature reflects the theocratic character of the Imperium, where religious and secular power are inextricably linked. The ministry maintains vast bureaucracies on countless worlds, managing everything from the construction of cathedrals to the distribution of religious texts. These bureaucracies are staffed by clerics of various ranks, each trained not only in theology, but also in administration, logistics, and governance. Missionary activities. One of the Ecclesiarchy's primary functions is the spread of imperial faith to newly discovered or reconquered worlds. Missionaries venture into the galaxy's most dangerous regions, carrying the light of the Emperor to benighted populations. These brave souls face countless perils, hostile Xenos, chaos cults, environmental hazards, and simple human barbarism. Missionary work takes many forms. Some missions involve establishing formal churches and converting local populations through preaching and demonstration of imperial technology. Others require more direct intervention, the forcible suppression of dangerous cults, or the elimination of Xenos' influences. The most extreme cases may result in exterminatus, the complete destruction of irredeemably corrupted worlds. Cathedral worlds and shrine worlds. Certain planets hold special significance in imperial faith. Cathedral worlds serve as major administrative centers for the Ecclesiarchy, featuring massive temple complexes that can house millions of worshippers. These architectural marvels stretch for kilometers, their spires piercing the clouds, their halls echoing with constant prayer and hymnal singing. Shrine worlds commemorate significant events in imperial history or house the remains of important saints. These planets often become destinations for pilgrims, drawing faithful from across the galaxy. The Ecclesiarchy carefully manages these pilgrimage sites, using them both to reinforce faith and to generate revenue for religious activities. The Sisters of Battle. Origins and purpose. The tragic events of the Age of Apostasy. when corrupt ecclesiarchy officials nearly destroyed the Imperium from within, led to strict restrictions on the Church's military power. The decree passive forbade the ecclesiarchy from maintaining men under arms, a prohibition that was circumvented through a legal technicality that would have far-reaching consequences. The Sisters of Battle, originally known as the Daughters of the Emperor, represent the ecclesiarchy's military arm. These warrior women are recruited from the most faithful families across the Imperium, trained from childhood in both warfare and religious devotion. They serve as living symbols of imperial faith, their very existence proving that divine favor can triumph over any enemy. Organization and training. The sisters are organized into orders, each with its own traditions, specializations, and areas of operation. The two largest orders, militant the Order of the Ebon Chalice and the Order of the Argent Shroud, field thousands of warriors across multiple war zones. Smaller orders focus on specific roles. The Orders Hospitaller provide medical care. The Orders Dialogus serve as translators and diplomats, and the Orders Famulus work among imperial nobility. Training begins in childhood at Schola progenium institutions, where potential sisters undergo rigorous physical, mental, and spiritual conditioning. Those who survive emerge as warriors of unshakable faith, capable of performing miraculous feats through sheer conviction. Their armor and weapons are masterworks of imperial technology, often incorporating relics and blessed components that enhance their already formidable abilities. Faith made manifest. The Sisters of Battle represent the power of faith made manifest in the material universe. Their most exceptional members can perform genuine miracles, walking unharmed through enemy fire, wielding weapons wreathed in holy flame, or manifesting protective barriers of pure light. These abilities are not psychic powers, they are expressions of absolute faith in the Emperor's protection. Such manifestations serve multiple purposes within imperial society. They provide concrete proof of the Emperor's continued protection of humanity, inspire faith among the common populace, and strike terror into the hearts of heretics and enemies. The sight of a Sister of Battle standing triumphant amid the wreckage of a Daemon host has converted more populations to imperial faith than 1,000 sermons. Saints and martyrs. The phenomenon of sainthood. Imperial saints are individuals who have achieved such perfect faith that they become conduits for divine power. These blessed souls can perform miracles that defy natural law, healing mortal wounds with a touch, manifesting wings of golden light, or banishing demons with a word. Saints appear throughout imperial history, often at moments of greatest crisis, their interventions turning the tide of battles and saving countless lives. The process of canonization is complex and politically charged. The Ecclesiarchy maintains strict criteria for sainthood, requiring multiple verified miracles and extensive investigation into the candidate's life and faith. However, some saints are recognized by popular acclaim, their miracles so obvious and widespread that official recognition becomes inevitable. Living saints. Perhaps the most remarkable manifestation of imperial faith is the living saintan individual who achieves sainthood while still alive and continues to perform miracles in service to the Emperor. These extraordinary beings are incredibly rare, appearing perhaps once in a generation, but their impact on imperial society is immeasurable. Saint Celestine, the most famous of the living saints, has appeared at critical moments throughout imperial history. Her manifestations during the 13th Black Crusade helped save the Imperium from destruction, her golden radiance piercing the darkness of chaos and inspiring imperial forces to impossible victories. Such figures become focal points for imperial faith, their very existence proof of the Emperor's continued care for humanity. Martyrdom and sacrifice. The Imperial Creed places tremendous value on martyrdom, the willing sacrifice of one's life in service to the Emperor. This concept serves multiple functions. It provides meaning to the countless deaths required by imperial survival, creates powerful symbols for the faithful to emulate, and reinforces the belief that earthly suffering is temporary while divine reward is eternal. Martyrs come from all walks of imperial life. Guardsmen who hold the line against impossible odds, missionaries who die spreading the faith, ordinary citizens who refuse to renounce their beliefs under torture are celebrated as examples of proper imperial devotion. Their stories are recorded in the Fide Imperialis and other religious texts, inspiring future generations to similar sacrifice. The Imperial Creed in daily life, ritual, and observance. Imperial faith permeates every aspect of daily life in the 40th Millennium. Citizens begin each day with prayers of gratitude to the Emperor, offer thanks for their daily rations, and end each day with prayers for protection through the night. Work shifts begin with hymns. Important decisions are made after consulting imperial tarot, and major life events are marked by religious ceremonies. The constant presence of faith serves practical as well as spiritual purposes. Regular prayer and observance help maintain social order among populations that might otherwise succumb to despair or rebellion. The communal aspects of worship create bonds between citizens, fostering cooperation and mutual support. Most importantly, genuine faith provides actual protection against the psychic predations of chaos, shielding souls from corruption. Education and indoctrination. Imperial education systems are designed to instill unquestioning faith from the earliest age. Children learn the Emperor's catechisms alongside basic literacy, study imperial history through the lens of religious narrative, and participate in regular worship as part of their school routine. Advanced education includes theological studies, regardless of the student's intended profession. This religious education serves multiple purposes. It ensures that all imperial citizens share a common cultural framework, facilitates communication across diverse populations, and provides the spiritual armor necessary to resist chaos corruption. Those who show particular aptitude for religious studies may be recruited into the Ecclesiarchy itself, beginning careers that could lead to positions of great influence. Pilgrimage and devotion. Pilgrimage holds special significance in imperial culture. These journeys, which may span years or even generations, take the faithful to sites of religious importance across the galaxy. The ultimate pilgrimage is to Terra itself, though few pilgrims ever achieve this goal due to the immense distances involved and the dangers of warp travel. The journey is often considered more important than the destination. Pilgrims face hardships that test their faith, encounter fellow believers from across the Imperium, and demonstrate their devotion through the very act of undertaking such dangerous travel. Many pilgrims die en route, but this is seen as a blessed ending, while on pilgrimage is considered a form of martyrdom. Heresy and orthodoxy. Defining heresy. In a universe where belief literally shapes reality, the definition of heresy becomes a matter of survival rather than mere theology. The Ecclesiarchy maintains strict guidelines for acceptable belief, but the practical application of these standards varies greatly across space and time. What constitutes dangerous heresy on one world might be accepted practice on another, creating a complex patchwork of local orthodoxies. The most dangerous heresies involve the worship of chaos powers, either knowingly or unknowingly. Cults dedicated to the dark gods represent an existential threat, not just to individual souls, but to entire populations. Once chaos gains a foothold in a community, it spreads like a plague, corrupting everyone it touches. The Ecclesiarchy's harsh response to suspected heresy, while often tragic in its excesses, serves as a necessary prophylactic against this ultimate contamination. The role of the Ordo Hereticus. The Inquisition's Ordo Hereticus works closely with the Ecclesiarchy to identify and eliminate dangerous deviations from imperial faith. These inquisitors possess the authority to investigate anyone, from lowly workers to planetary governors, seeking signs of corruption or heretical belief. Their methods range from subtle observation to direct interrogation, and their judgment is final and absolute. This partnership between the Ecclesiarchy and the Ordo Hereticus creates a system of mutual oversight. The Inquisition ensures that the Church remains free of corruption, while the Ecclesiarchy provides the theological expertise necessary to distinguish between harmless local variation and dangerous heresy. However, this relationship is not without tension. Both organizations jealously guard their prerogatives and may clash over jurisdiction or interpretation. Redemption and punishment. Imperial justice regarding matters of faith operates on principles that may seem harsh by contemporary standards, but serve necessary functions in the context of 40K's universe. Minor heresies might be addressed through public penance, re-education, or service in penal legions. More serious offenses typically result in execution, often by burning, which is believed to purify the soul and prevent demonic possession of the corpse. However, the imperial system also provides paths to redemption. The penitent who truly repents may find their sins forgiven and their service accepted. Death cults dedicated to the emperor provide outlets for those seeking to atone through violence against the Imperium's enemies. The very harshness of imperial justice serves to emphasize the mercy shown to those who return to the fold. The Ecclesiarchy's temporal power. Political influence. The Ecclesiarchy's influence extends far beyond spiritual matters into the realm of temporal politics. The Church controls vast resources, entire worlds dedicated to religious purposes, massive cathedral ships that serve as mobile centers of worship, and the industrial capacity to produce everything from prayer books to holy weapons. This wealth translates directly into political power. On many worlds, the local ecclesiarchy representative wields influence equal to or greater than the planetary governor. The Church's approval can legitimize rulers and policies, while its opposition can spark rebellions or justify imperial intervention. Wise governors cultivate good relationships with local religious authorities, understanding that spiritual authority often trumps secular power in the minds of the faithful. Economic control. The Ecclesiarchy operates one of the largest economic networks in human space. Tithing requirements channel wealth from across the Imperium into church coffers, while the production of religious materialzicons, texts, architectural elements supports entire industrial sectors. The Church's vast landholdings on agricultural worlds help feed the Imperium's countless billions. This economic power serves both practical and spiritual purposes. The wealth allows the Ecclesiarchy to fund missionary activities, maintain its vast bureaucracy, and support military operations when necessary. The act of tithing itself reinforces the faithful's commitment to imperial ideals while providing tangible support for religious activities. Military capabilities. Despite the formal restrictions of the decree passive, the Ecclesiarchy maintains significant military capabilities. The Sisters of Battle represent only the most visible aspect of church military power. Frateris militia, armed civilians organized around religious themes, can quickly mobilize in times of crisis. Ecclesiarchy-controlled worlds maintain their own defense forces, often equipped with the finest imperial military technology. The Church's military activities often focus on missionary work and the suppression of heretical cults. Ecclesiarchy forces may accompany Imperial Guard regiments to provide spiritual support and watch for signs of corruption. In extreme cases, the Church may call for crusades, massive military campaigns aimed at reclaiming lost worlds or destroying particularly dangerous threats to the faith. Challenges and contradictions. The problem of distance. The Imperium's vast scale creates enormous challenges for maintaining religious orthodoxy. Communication across interstellar distances is slow and unreliable, while the dangers of warp travel mean that some worlds may go centuries without contact with higher imperial authorities. In such isolation, local religious practices may drift significantly from established norms. This distance problem is exacerbated by the need for local adaptation. Missionaries arriving on a new world must work within existing cultural frameworks, often making compromises that would be unacceptable elsewhere. Over time, these compromises can evolve into traditions that subsequent generations view as orthodox, creating conflicts when outside authorities attempt to impose different standards. Internal politics. Like any large organization, the Ecclesiarchy is riven with internal politics, competing factions, and theological disputes. Different schools of thought vie for influence, each claiming to represent true imperial doctrine. These conflicts can paralyze decision-making, create inconsistent policies, and provide opportunities for corruption or external manipulation. Ambitious clerics may pursue personal advancement over genuine religious devotion, using their positions to accumulate wealth or power. The vast resources controlled by the Church create numerous opportunities for corruption, while the organization's size makes oversight difficult. Periodic reform movements attempt to address these problems, but the underlying structural issues persist. The mutation problem. One of the Ecclesiarchy's most troubling contradictions involves the treatment of mutation. Imperial doctrine teaches that genetic purity is sacred, and that mutation represents corruption of the Emperor's perfect human form. However, the realities of life in the 40 honest millennium make genetic stability impossible for many populations. Radiation, chemical contamination, and warp exposure all cause mutations among human populations. On some worlds, mutation rates are so high that pure humans are a minority. The Ecclesiarchy's response to this problem varies dramatically. Some regions practice systematic extermination of mutants, while others develop elaborate theological justifications for accepting certain types of mutation. This inconsistency creates obvious problems. Populations that include significant mutant populations may be subject to sudden purges if a particularly zealous cleric takes charge. The threat of being declared impure hangs over countless imperial citizens, creating fear and resentment that can drive people toward actual heresy. The Ecclesiarchy in the Era Indomitus. Guilliman's return. The return of Robute Guilliman and the launch of the Indomitus Crusade has created new tensions within the Ecclesiarchy. The primarch's secular worldview, formed during the days of the imperial truth, clashes sharply with 10 millennia of religious development. His attempts to rationalize imperial governance and reduce the Church's temporal influence have met with significant resistance. Guilliman's position is particularly difficult because he cannot simply dismiss imperial faith. Its protective effects against chaos are too valuable and its social functions too important. Instead, he must navigate carefully between necessary reforms and dangerous destabilization of imperial society. His efforts to create a more efficient, rational imperium often conflict with religious traditions that have developed deep roots over the millennia. The Great Rift and religious revival. The opening of the Great Rift and the emergence of new threats across the galaxy has sparked a religious revival throughout imperial space. Many citizens view these events as signs of the end times, leading to increased devotion, mass pilgrimages, and the emergence of new apocalyptic cults. The Ecclesiarchy has struggled to manage this surge of religious enthusiasm while maintaining doctrinal control. Some regions have experienced religious wars as different interpretations of recent events clash violently. Prophetic movements proclaiming the Emperor's imminent return compete with more traditional theological approaches. The Church's response has been typically varied, embracing useful manifestations of faith while suppressing those deemed dangerous or heretical. New challenges and adaptations. The current era presents unique challenges to imperial faith. The emergence of new Xenos threats, the expansion of chaos influence, and the technological innovations of Belisarius Cawl all require theological interpretation and response. The Ecclesiarchy must adapt its doctrines to address these new realities while maintaining the essential character of imperial belief. The introduction of Primaris Space Marines, for example, raises questions about the nature of the Emperor's original design for humanity. Some theologians view these enhanced warriors as proof of the Emperor's continued guidance, while others worry that tampering with the sacred human form borders on heresy. These debates will likely influence imperial policy for generations to come. The future of faith. Eternal vigilance. The Ecclesiarchy's mission maintaining humanity's faith in the face of cosmic horror has no endpoint. As long as chaos exists, as long as Xenos threaten human worlds, as long as the galaxy remains a place of darkness and despair, the Church must continue its work. This eternal struggle shapes every aspect of imperial religious life, from daily prayers to grand crusades. The organization's survival depends on its ability to adapt while maintaining core principles. The ecclesiarchy that emerges from the current crisis may look very different from its predecessor, but its essential mission remains unchanged: to provide the spiritual armor that humanity needs to survive in an actively hostile universe. The price of faith. Imperial faith comes at a tremendous cost. The resources devoted to religious activities could be used for material improvement. The mental energy spent on devotion could advance scientific understanding, and the social control exercised by the Church limits individual freedom. These costs are not ignored by imperial leadership. They are considered necessary prices for survival. In the Warhammer 40K universe, the alternatives to imperial faith are not secular humanism or rational materialism, but corruption by chaos powers or destruction by Xenos forces. The Ecclesiarchy's harsh methods and oppressive doctrines exist because gentler alternatives have proven inadequate to the threats humanity faces. This tragic necessity shapes every aspect of imperial religious life. Conclusion. The Ecclesiarchy stands as one of the Imperium's most powerful and complex institutions, wielding influence that extends into every corner of human space. Its success in maintaining humanity's faith across 10 millennia of darkness represents one of the greatest achievements in human history, yet its methods and doctrines often appear cruel and oppressive to outside observers. Understanding the Ecclesiarchy requires appreciating the unique conditions of the Warhammer 40K universe, where faith provides literal protection against supernatural threats and where the cost of disbelief can be the corruption of one's soul. In this context, the Church's apparent excesses become necessary prophylactics against existential threats that go far beyond mere political or social control. The God Emperor may or may not be divine in any absolute sense, but the faith of his followers has made him into something that functions as a god for all practical purposes. The Ecclesiarchy serves as the guardian of this faith, ensuring that the light of human belief continues to burn in the darkness of the far future. Whether this light represents humanity's salvation or its damnation remains to be seen, but its importance to human survival in the 40 honest millennium cannot be denied. In the end, the Ecclesiarchy embodies both the best and worst of humanity. Its capacity for absolute devotion and its tendency toward fanaticism, its ability to find hope in hopeless circumstances, and its willingness to sacrifice the individual for the collective good. Like the Imperium it serves, the Church is neither wholly good nor entirely evil, but rather a massive, complex institution struggling to preserve human civilization in a universe that actively opposes its existence. The future will undoubtedly bring new challenges to imperial faith, but the Ecclesiarchy has proven remarkably adaptable throughout its long history. Whatever changes may come, the core mission remains constant: to maintain the spiritual unity that allows humanity to stand against the darkness and continue its long struggle for survival among the stars. In the grim darkness of the far future, faith may be the only light that never dies.